At the southwestern tip of Africa lies one of the most spectacular parks on Earth. Surrounded by the vast Atlantic Ocean and the growing metropolis of Cape Town. It is home to an extraordinary diversity of plants and animals. Many exist nowhere else. This is an extreme and unforgiving environment. At its core is one of the world's most iconic mountains. This is Table Mountain National Park. Table Mountain is one of the natural wonders of the world. Its flat top is formed by a cap of super-hardened sandstone that has resisted millions of years of erosion. The mountain is the northernmost extent of one of Africa's most diverse parks. From here, Table Mountain National Park extends south along a rugged spine of mountains to the end of the peninsula at Cape Point. "221 square kilometers of incredible diversity. Containing more than 2,000 plant species. 90 of which exist nowhere else in the world. This sanctuary is surrounded on all sides by ocean or by humanity. 1,000-meter peaks stand with their feet in the sea. Two sharply contrasting worlds on land and in the ocean. Cold, dry winds and deep ocean currents drive upwelling along this coast, drawing valuable nutrients to the surface, resulting in rich waters teeming with life. But on land, conditions are very different. The winds that bring life to the waters below buffet the mountains, desiccating the landscape and stunting the vegetation. Dry and windswept, just surviving here is a struggle. Just about every plant and animal is adapted to overcome this harsh world. Orange-breasted sunbirds flit between flowers in a partnership critical to both species' survival. Where only the toughest species can eke out a living on the land, in contrast, below the waves, in the rich seas, life is abundant. Seals play a life and death game of hide and seek in the offshore forests. And an unusual colony of African penguins thrives. All protected within Table Mountain's incredible natural sanctuary. For plants and animals alike, living here is a story of life on the edge. It's midsummer, and an unlikely family has come down to the beach near Cape Point to escape the heat. Chacma baboons, the southernmost primate in Africa, apart from humans. One of the world's largest monkeys, males can weigh nearly 45 kilograms. They are remarkably resourceful and occur across southern Africa in a range of habitats, from forests and grasslands to savanna and semi-deserts. For a few days each month during extreme low tides, they come down to the shore in order to forage among the exposed rocks. This gives them a valuable survival edge in an unforgiving park. They're one of only a few baboon families in the world whose lifestyle straddles both land and sea. The Cape Peninsula is an isolated stretch of land jutting out into the mighty Atlantic Ocean. It is one of the windiest spots in the world. Gales blow roughly 100 days a year. This makes life on land harsh, but it brings a bounty to the ocean. Southeasterly winds and deep oceanic currents bring cold, nutrient-rich water to the surface in a process called upwelling. These nutrients, together with sunlight, fuel one of the most productive habitats on the planet. Giant kelp forests, with plants towering over 12 meters, thrive. With plenty of food available, the only limiting factor is a place to call your own. Space is at a premium, so there is fierce competition for it. Fish, such as this red Roman, are territorial. Males jealously guard their patch. And to avoid competition, they have a trick up their sleeves. Young are all born female. When the territorial male dies, the largest female changes sex and takes over his territory. Seven-gill cow sharks also patrol these forests. A member of one of the planet's most ancient shark lineages, they hide from predators such as great whites during the day in the forest. Cape fur seals, another of the great white's favored prey items, also find shelter in the kelp beds. In the relative safety of this underwater haven, there's plenty of time for mischief. The relentless winds that contribute to the upwelling in the ocean, making it one of the most fertile ecosystems on the planet, also dictate conditions on land, but in the opposite way. The vegetation blanketing the park is called Fynbos, translated as fine bush. It gets its name from the delicate leaves of many of its plants, which help them to conserve water. Fynbos forms part of the incredibly diverse Cape floristic region. This region is second only to tropical forests in terms of diversity, although it is only a fraction of the size. Covering only 90,000 square kilometers, the Cape holds more than 9,000 plant species, almost 70% of which live nowhere else. More plant species than the United Kingdom. Fynbos is characterized by 4 iconic plant types. Ericas, identifiable by their tiny needle-like leaves. Reed-like restios. Large shrubby proteas with showy flowers. And geophytes with their underground storage organs. The soils of Table Mountain National Park are sandy and hold few nutrients and limited water. Where soils are poor, growing leaves is costly. So plants need to deter animals from eating them. For this, they fill their leaves with chemicals called tannins, which make them bitter and indigestible. Although the landscape appears to be covered with edible vegetation, most of it is not. This family of Cape mountain zebra are searching for food on the open plains north of Cape Point. They are the smallest zebra species, easily distinguished from other zebras by the fold of skin under their necks, known as a dewlap. They specialize in living in dry, rocky environments. They're searching for new grass shoots. Eland, the largest antelope in the world, also rely on isolated patches of grass that grow in a few places amongst the unpalatable Fynbos. Bontebok are found only in this part of South Africa and can survive on Fynbos alone. But they take full advantage of Table Mountain's grazing lawns to boost their diet. For nearly all land animals, finding food in this barren landscape is a constant challenge. The baboon troops often have to make do with what they can find high on the meager landscape of the peninsula. But this troop is led by an experienced alpha male, and he knows where to look. Plants with underground storage organs such as bulbs and tubers, known as geophytes, are common in the park. These store water and carbohydrates underground in order to survive the park's hot, dry summers. But not all geophytes are good eating. March lilies appear in late summer all over the peninsula. The bulbs of these beautiful plants are highly toxic, able to kill a grown man. Being a big-brained primate gives these baboons an advantage in this tough landscape. Family life is important. Youngsters not only learn from their parents, but spend hours playing. This builds relations between family members. Subordinates often groom dominant members to gain acceptance, and females gain protection for their young. Youngsters, too, always have an eye out for opportunities to get on top. One species in the park that comes out on top more often than not is the rock hyrax, known locally as dasyes. They are found throughout the park on rocky outcrops, and this family are kings of their castle. Their home is on the iconic flat mountain. Dasyes may look suspiciously like guinea pigs, but they are not rodents at all. As unlikely as it seems, DNA evidence shows their closest living relatives are elephants. Agama lizards are also adapted to life here. Like all cold-blooded animals, they cannot regulate their own body temperatures and rely on the sun's heat to warm their bodies. So they spend large amounts of time lying on exposed sunny surfaces. This makes them easy targets for birds of prey, such as rock kestrels. Most species are camouflaged to blend in with the rock. But the black girdled lizard stands out. It's a dangerous trade-off. The lizard is more visible to predators, but being darker helps it absorb the maximum amount of heat. Dasyes too enjoy sunning themselves. They are one of only a few warm-blooded mammals capable of using the sun's heat to increase their body temperature and aid their metabolism. This also exposes them to larger predators, such as this jackal buzzard. But dasyes are expert rock jumpers. Small, stubby toes with hoof-like nails make rock jumping easy. A special secretion keeps their rubbery feet permanently moist. They also have a collapsible rib cage, perfect for squeezing into small rock crevices to escape danger. Of all their adaptations, however, it is possibly their ability to tackle a variety of food that gives them the greatest advantage in this park. A multi-chambered stomach filled with symbiotic bacteria enables them to eat the otherwise unpalatable leaves of Fynbos. Most of the year, Fynbos tries to keep animals at bay to prevent grazing. But for some species, animals are critically important for pollination. And to attract these animals, plants produce lots of nectar. Growing leaves is expensive because it requires nutrients that are in short supply in the soils of Table Mountain National Park. But while leaves are expensive, producing nectar is cheap. All it takes is sunlight and a little water. It's early morning. The flowers are full of nectar and sunbirds are feasting. Orange-breasted sunbirds exist only in the Fynbos. They play a crucial role in the ecosystem. Flitting from flower to flower, feeding on nectar, they become dusted with pollen, which they transfer from plant to plant, fertilizing the flowers. Southern double-collared sunbirds are also drawn by the spoils on offer. Proteas, South Africa's iconic national flower, are shrubby plants, and they attract another larger bird. Cape sugarbirds, so named for their love of nectar. Their tail is long and cumbersome. But females are attracted by impressive tails. The longer the tail, the better the male's potential as a mate. Sunbirds are also enjoying the sugary spoils. But they unwittingly cheat the protea out of its nectar. Being small, they can't reach into the depths of the plant from above, like the sugarbirds, and are not dusted with pollen. This is bad news for the plant. Their only reliable pollinators are sugarbirds. While more than 400 species of Fynbos plants rely on birds to enable them to produce seeds, these are not the only pollinators. Cape honeybees love nectar and rely heavily on flowers to get it. Bees also play a vital pollinating role in the Fynbos ecosystem. Their proboscis is an airtight, straw-like tube that sucks up nectar. An electrostatic charge on the fine hairs that cover their body and legs helps them collect pollen. Of all pollinators in the park, perhaps the most unusual is the striped field mouse. Around the world, pollination by rodents is extremely rare. But mice are attracted to proteas because the flowers produce large volumes of nectar. In the Fynbos, more than 35 plant species depend on this rare relationship. Living in a windy place can be a hindrance, but some plants have come to depend on it. Restios, another major plant group of the Fynbos, are wind-pollinated. They don't have beautiful showy flowers because they don't need to attract pollinators with fancy petals or tasty nectar. Their pollinator is indiscriminate, but everywhere. Wind pollination is not as precise as animal pollination, but it's still highly effective in this wind-driven ecosystem. Wind not only helps to renew life on land, it also brings nutrients to the ocean surface, enabling sea life to flourish. Table Mountain National Park is home to a rare marine character, the African penguin. It's breeding season in the Boulders Beach colony on the eastern shores of the park. This is one of only 3 mainland breeding colonies in Africa. Ordinarily, African penguins prefer to breed on offshore islands. But humans destroyed their traditional homes by stripping guano off these islands for fertilizer in the early 1900s. With no guano, the breeding penguins had nowhere to dig their burrows and shelter their chicks. In addition, commercial fishing has stripped the oceans of food for penguins. Historically, there were an estimated 2 million breeding pairs in southern Africa. Today, fewer than 25,000 survive. The species is hanging on by the finest of threads. And the Boulders Beach penguins are at the forefront of the struggle. It is one of the only colonies growing in number. Not only is the breeding colony protected, the surrounding waters of False Bay are also closed to commercial fishing, meaning food is plentiful. Penguins are not the only flightless bird benefiting from the sanctuary of the park. It's midsummer, the driest time of the year. This is the hottest day that Cape Point has experienced in 100 years, a sweltering 43 degrees Celsius. Fynbos offers little shade, and birds do not have the ability to sweat in order to cool down. This ostrich is feeling the heat. So he's opening his mouth and rapidly moving air over a capillary-filled pouch in his throat in order to cool his blood. This is called gular fluttering, similar to panting dogs. He also spreads his wings, allowing the wind to fan the thin skin beneath reduces his core temperature. The bontebok are also taking strain in the exposed landscape. Males are highly territorial, and even in the heat, their priority is to assert dominance. There are places in the park where the desiccating winds actually benefit plants and animals. On the summit, the southeasterly wind has formed a cloud known to locals as the mountain's tablecloth. The lower slopes are parched, but this thick cloud brings some relief to the park's higher elevations. Water condensing out of the air is just enough to refresh the last trickling streams. These are home to an orchid called the red dizer. Dizers can tolerate hot summer temperatures, but they need moisture and humidity, and so can only survive in these permanent streams. Cape rivers are best known for their dark water. The bitter tannins Fynbos plants use to deter herbivores leach into the rivers, creating a tea-like color. Even here, in this moist environment, life is tough. Sundews are carnivorous plants that can survive in these nutrient-poor soils. The droplets on their leaves are sweet secretions. Insects are trapped by this sticky substance, and the plant uses enzymes to digest them and absorb the nutrients. The permanent streams allow green pockets of life to survive on an unforgiving mountain. Afromontane forest covers just 4% of the park and is a refuge for a number of unusual species. Perhaps the most precious of all is the Table Mountain ghost frog, one of the rarest amphibians on the planet. The entire world's population lives in just 6 ravines on the eastern side of the mountain. It is seldom seen, living a secretive existence in these perennial streams. This frog has just metamorphosed from a tadpole. He still has a lot of growing to reach his adult size of 5 centimeters. Ghost frogs are perfectly adapted to this habitat. Flattened bodies allow them to crawl between narrow crevices. Webbed feet make them excellent swimmers. Sticky discs on their toes help them cling to rock faces, and their mottled green and brown appearance is ideal camouflage. The tadpoles are also adapted to life in fast-flowing streams. Their huge mouth acts as a strong sucker, allowing them to hang onto rocks while slowly feeding on algae. Tadpoles take a whole year to develop to adulthood. The ghost frog is a specialist and is unable to traverse large distances between suitable habitats, and therefore exists nowhere else. Further downstream, a curious character also finds refuge. A Cape dwarf chameleon, native to the southwestern corner of South Africa. Unlike ghost frogs, Table Mountain's extreme specialist, the secret of this chameleon's success is its adaptability. It can survive everywhere, from fynbos and forest to urban gardens. Large individuals, such as this one, can grow up to 19 centimeters in length. Chameleons are important predators. With gripping feet and a prehensile tail, they are adapted to life in the trees. Their eyes work independently, allowing them to scan different directions at the same time. Even expert hunters can sometimes miss the shot. It's this grasshopper's lucky day. But persistence pays. Afromontane forests are tucked away in moist ravines, protected from the dangers of increasingly hot and dry conditions on the exposed slopes. By the end of summer, Table Mountain National Park is a tinderbox. One stray spark is all that it takes to ignite the mountain. Once alight, runaway fires rapidly destroy everything in their path. Animals not able to escape are consumed by the flames. But fire has always been a natural part of this landscape, and it plays a pivotal role in the Fynbos ecosystem. In only a matter of days, new growth starts to appear. Protea bushes in particular are fire adapted. Some protect themselves with thick bark and then re-sprout once the fire has passed. Others are stimulated by the flames to release their seeds. Smoke, heat, or charred wood also triggers the growth of seeds and bulbs buried in the ground. Ironically, the burnt landscape is perfect for new seedlings. With the dominant adult plants gone, there is no competition for space or water. And the nutrients once stored in living vegetation now lie as highly fertile ash on the ground. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes, Fynbos is reborn after each fire. Table Mountain National Park's rugged 100-kilometer coastline is a sharp divide between Fynbos struggling under the onslaught of summer and cold waters full of life. In order to survive on Table Mountain, every species needs to be able to tip the scales in their favor, and none are better at seizing new opportunities than the mountain's baboon troops. By the end of the hot season, kelp beds are bloated with life. Older plants become dislodged by swells rising out of the Southern Ocean. Washing ashore, it's a valuable resource. Beach hoppers, crustaceans distantly related to lobsters and crabs, have specially adapted gills, allowing them to breathe air. They are effective scavengers, removing tons of washed-up kelp in a matter of days. The Cape Point troop of Chacma baboons are also making the most of the smorgasbord on the shore. They have learned that there is a feast to be had if you know where to look. When conditions are right, they come down from their mountainside home for an early morning seafood buffet. Spring low tide is best. When rocks are exposed far down the beach, covered in mussels and limpets. This is one of the only places in the world where baboons are known to do this. Shellfish are an incredible source of protein. These baboons spend only about 5% of their time feasting at the shore, but the nutrition they gain is invaluable. It is thought that this same protein source also helped fuel human development hundreds of thousands of years ago. There is evidence that some of our earliest ancestors ate large amounts of seafood along these shores, fueling the growth of a bigger brain. Just like the earliest human ancestors, baboons have adapted to make the most of the opportunities provided by this challenging landscape, gaining a valuable survival edge on this unforgiving peninsula. Table Mountain National Park is a land of contrasts, driven by fire and wind. It is harsh on land. Despite this, a number of plants and animals thrive. Forming partnerships critical for their survival. A wealth of species that are found nowhere else. The surrounding oceans teem with life. Fed by nutrient-rich waters upwelled from the deep. there is plenty of food for a multitude of plants and animals. This is an island of diversity and wonder, hemmed in by humanity and surrounded by ocean. Table Mountain National Park is a place like no other. In the northeastern corner of South Africa lies a land of unparalleled beauty. From pristine beaches and vibrant coral reefs, through lush wetlands and lakes, to vast forests and open plains. Each landscape provides sanctuary for a range of animals. Known locally as the Miracle due to its beauty, this is the magical world of iSimangaliso. These remote shores lie nestled between an ancient forest and the Indian Ocean. They are beautiful, yet unpredictable. For most of the year, they are relatively quiet. But tonight, they have a visitor. A female loggerhead turtle hauls herself onto the shores of iSimangaliso's Banga Neck coastline. She has traveled the world's oceans to return to this exact spot, the same beach where she was born. This is one of the few times in her life she will come onto land. And she is here for one special reason: to start the next generation. She slowly digs a nest a meter deep in the sand with her huge flippers. This isn't an easy task. She's out of her element, exhausted, and at her most vulnerable. But her whole life has led to this moment. She slowly lays around 100 eggs in the nest. She will be lucky if 10 survive. The sex of her hatchlings will be determined by how deep she buries her eggs. The temperature in loggerhead turtle nests ranges from 26 to 32 degrees Celsius. Eggs that are incubated in cool conditions become males. Those that develop at higher temperatures become females. The process is long and arduous, taking hours to complete. When she has finished laying, she covers her eggs with sand and returns to the sea. She won't return to land until she is ready to lay eggs again. Her job is done. There is a reason why she swam great distances to return to this coastline. It's because of the sand at the base of the dunes. They're full of titanium ore, which heats up under the sun, turning the sand into the perfect egg incubator. Titanium ore is also a hydrophilic agent, meaning it attracts water, ensuring the turtle eggs never dry out. This isn't only crucial for loggerhead turtles, it's vital for the whole wetland. When it rains, water draining through the sand is drawn to the titanium, which slows the passing of moisture through the water table. As a result, the dunes store huge amounts of rainwater, which slowly seeps out, nurturing the surrounding forest. These are some of the largest and oldest forested dunes in the world. They form the eastern border of South Africa's first World Heritage Site and most spectacular wetland park. iSimangaliso, the Zulu word for miracle, so named for its beauty and the miraculous abundance of life found within its borders. Eight interlinking ecosystems, 3 major lakes, and South Africa's most pristine estuary form the heritage site. iSimangaliso combines dry savanna and sumptuous reefs, dense coastal forests, and untainted estuaries. This incredible mix of habitats supports a wealth of wildlife. Families thrive. Bonds are strengthened. And enemies battle. From the young to the old, iSimangaliso provides for all of those who live here. The dune forests of the Banga Neck coastline are home to a special family. Samango monkeys are South Africa's only exclusively forest-dwelling primate. They're arboreal, which means they live almost entirely among the trees and spend very little time on the ground. They don't like strong sunlight and seek shelter among branches and leaves. Their diet is largely made up of fruit, leaves, insects, and fungi. And they have their favorites. They depend on the rich diversity of flora found in Bangor Neck. As a result, this dune forest in iSimangaliso is one of the few in the world that can support them. Simango monkey troops are like one large family. The females in the troop provide guidance for the young. They start learning how to survive in the forest from when they are just a few weeks old. Youngsters learn how to eat, climb, and groom by watching their mothers. When monkeys groom each other, it releases endorphins in their brains. Endorphins are the happiness chemical, and they are addictive. Most monkeys spend up to 20% of their day grooming. The rest is spent traveling and foraging. By watching and learning from her mother, this juvenile will one day pass on what she has learned to her own children. The young become independent after a couple of months, but continue to nurse for another 2 years. But not every animal in iSimangaliso has such a rich childhood. A very different approach to rearing young can be found further inland, in the center of the park. Spanning over 300 square kilometers, St. Lucia is the largest marine lake system in Africa. 5 rivers flow into it. When the rains are good, the flow of fresh river water lowers the lake's salt content. But when the rains dry up, the rivers stop flowing, and the level of the lake can drop below the sea. When this happens, seawater flows in to replace the lost fresh water, producing a salt content that can be 3 times higher than the ocean. Animals that can't cope with this much salt perish. But others adapt. Like a small fish that has an intriguing way of coping with excess salt. The tilapia is able to change the workings of its gills to match the salinity of the surrounding water. Gills are the organs through which fish extract oxygen from water. In freshwater fish, gills work to retain the salt. In saltwater fish, they expel it. But the tilapia has the unique ability to adjust the receptors in its gills to match its habitat. As a result, it is just as happy in both salt and fresh water. But even for the tilapia, life in St Lucia is difficult. They may not have to worry about the changes in salt levels, but they do have to worry about these. Crocodiles. Growing up to 6 meters long and weighing more than a ton, with rows of razor-sharp teeth, there is little in iSimangaliso that does not fear these apex predators. St Lucia boasts the largest breeding population of crocodiles in South Africa, and they've adapted to living here in an inventive and unexpected way. They make burrows. When water is scarce, the crocodiles dig large holes into the riverbanks. By burrowing down through the water table, they are able to access beds of fresh water other animals can't tap into. They have been doing this for generations. But unlike Simango monkeys, childhood for iSimangaliso's crocodiles is not a time of nurturing or learning. From the day it was born, this baby has been on its own. Left to fend for itself, it hasn't been taught what to eat or how to survive. It's also had to face a constant threat from hungry birds and the ever-changing water. But the ever-resilient crocodile is full of surprises. This is the first time a hatchling crocodile has been filmed underground in St Lucia. Without being shown where to go or what to do, she has found an abandoned burrow through instinct alone. The hollow remains at a constant temperature, whatever the season. The baby crocodile will hide here until the cover of darkness. Then it will leave to hunt. This is an amazing adaptation for survival in iSimangaliso, evolved by one of the planet's hardiest survivors. The hippopotamus doesn't have such an ingenious method for surviving in St Lucia, but it does provide an invaluable service that helps nourish the lake. Hippos seem big and clumsy on land, but in water, it's a different story. The name hippopotamus is an ancient Greek word meaning river horse, a term linked to their surprising speed and grace underwater. The river helps the hippo in many ways. The hippo's unique skin structure causes it to lose moisture at a higher rate than most animals. They lose water up to 5 times quicker than humans. This is because they have a thick skin, but no sebaceous glands. The glands responsible for regulating temperature. Because of this, hippos rely on water to keep them cool. And the hippo repays the favor, especially in St. Lucia. When the rains lessen, the rivers flowing into St. Lucia are weakened. Rivers are responsible for carrying nutrients into the lake. When the river's flow is weak, fewer nutrients arrive. That's where hippos come in. They leave the lake at dusk to graze. When they've finished eating, they return and deposit masses of nutrient-rich dung into the water. It's a vital service, one which helps maintain a healthy ecosystem. The majority of the hippo's activities take place in water, including mating. Conception usually happens during the dry season, so that births may coincide with the rains. Courtship is surprisingly gentle. Females start conceiving at around 9 years old and will calf every 2 years from then on. These waters, though temperamental, are also a nursery for some of the park's most impressive residents. Of all iSimangaliso's ecosystems, one has supported life for far longer than most. Beneath the waves is a spectacular underwater world. This is home to some of nature's most beautiful, bizarre, and cunning creatures. This is Sodwana, an oceanic realm in the northeast of iSimangaliso. The coral reefs have grown on the remains of ancient fossilized dunes, It is estimated that this stretch of reef is at least 4,000 years old. Sodwana is the culmination of a special set of circumstances. As the warm Agulhas current moves down from Mozambique, it begins to cool near St Lucia. At the same time, sediment-rich rivers flow into the Indian Ocean. In order for the coral to survive, the water must stay between 16 and 36 degrees Celsius. No silt or detritus can come through the inbound rivers, and the water must be shallow enough to receive nutrients from the sun. This abundance of life, though beautiful, is temperamental. There are 95 species of hard and soft coral in Sodwana, and they host over 1,200 types of fish. Among them, the serpentine king of the ocean, the honeycomb moray eel. They are one of the largest and most distinctive of the moray family. They wait in the reef for any chance to snatch prey, which they pry apart with their razor-sharp teeth. And they aren't the only predators to scour Sodwana's warm waters. Ragged-toothed sharks hunt here too. Their teeth are long and slim, like avenues of spikes. There are 3 rows of 40 to 50 teeth in each jaw, and these will be used on any of the smaller prey in Sodwana. They hunt in packs, surrounding their prey. They also eat each other. While in its mother's womb, the first shark to wake will feed on its brothers and sisters. Only 2 sharks will survive this cannibalistic start, continuously feeding on the unfertilized eggs their mother produces until their birth. The ragged-toothed shark also has the unusual ability to alter its buoyancy by swallowing or belching air, staying at a desired depth and expending minimal energy. This incredible underwater haven has endured because it exists where little can threaten it. Above the surface, in the far north of the park, is another species that also partly owes its success to its remote location. This is a Raffia palm. At 16 meters tall, it is one of the largest palm trees in the world. Its leaves spread up to 10 meters wide, and it has a flowering head 3 meters across. Remarkably, this tree will only flower once, just before it dies. When this happens, it scatters its seeds all over the swamp. These are palm nuts. Only the Raffia palm produces them. And they make up the main diet of South Africa's rarest breeding bird, the palm nut vulture. Unlike most vultures, the palm nut vulture prefers nuts to meat. It is now largely vegan. The only place it roosts is at the top of the Raffia palm. And the only place in the world where the Raffia palm grows naturally is iSimangaliso's Cozy Bay. Cozy Bay is one of the few pristine estuarine systems left in South Africa. The soils here are mainly leached acid sands, which means that almost no silt is carried in when it rains. This sets the Cozy estuary apart from all others. Its waters are always crystal clear, no matter what time of the year or when it has rained. But iSimangaliso's most surprising habitat lies inland, away from the waters of the Indian Ocean, and is unlike anything else in the park. The savannas of Mkuze support many of southern Africa's most iconic animals. These two old elephant bulls have formed a temporary alliance. They have been walking for many days with little rest. Although they are mainly solitary animals, elephant bulls occasionally travel together in search of females and food. In times of drought, they will also travel great distances to find fresh water. Elephants have an astounding ability to detect where and when it will rain. To locate an isolated rain shower, they can travel up to 40 kilometers. On these journeys, they constantly feed, dispersing seeds along the way. Their nutrient-rich dung provides the perfect conditions for the seeds to germinate and protects them during the early stages of growth. As a result, iSimangaliso's elephants have an important influence on how the savannas appear. They are the veldt's most important gardeners. In a land as diverse as iSimangaliso, collaboration is often the only way to survive. The cheetah is the fastest land mammal on Earth. Outrunning one would be difficult for any animal. Outrunning two is near impossible. These brothers have developed a unique collaborative hunting method. Teaming up for any species is a delicate balance. More allies mean more mouths to feed. For two animals to live and work together, it requires a unique relationship, one founded largely on trust. Today, it has worked. The brothers have killed a young zebra foal. Its mother was unable to protect it, but the herd has chased the cheetahs into a nearby thicket. The brothers bide their time for a chance to feed. The mare nudges her foal for a response. But none comes. A waiting game has begun. The cheetahs can't have their meal while the herd is there. They are surprisingly vulnerable for a big cat, and an adult zebra poses a serious threat. The mare knows they are no match for her. She protects her young, even in death. The rest of the herd seems to share in her loss. For 3 days and nights, she guards the carcass. Eventually, hunger forces the cheetah brothers to give up their kill. They need to eat and must hunt again. Although she has suffered a huge loss, this mother has managed to hold on to her offspring for a little longer. But even the most resilient mothers can do little against an onslaught of vultures. There is nothing more the herd can do. It doesn't take long for the scavengers to strip the carcass. Since a meal is not a guarantee in the savannah and competition is fierce, vultures have developed the ability to eat incredibly quickly. In as little as 2 minutes, they can consume almost 1.5 kilograms of carrion. The more dominant lappet-faced vultures have priority over the smaller Cape vultures, who must wait their turn. Of all the species of vulture, These giant birds are the kings. Their powerful bills can tear through tougher bits of the carcass that others can't access. But white-necked ravens pay little regard to vulture hierarchy. These opportunists will take a chance, regardless of the size of the competition. The foal is a welcome meal for all. Life cycles continuously play out across iSimangaliso's many landscapes. And for every end, there is a new beginning. It's been 70 days since the female loggerhead turtle visited these shores. As her hatchlings breach the sand, they begin a hazardous journey to the sea. These young, vulnerable babies begin life with the biggest challenge they will have to face. They are most at risk now, small, exposed, and defenseless. Not all will make it. Predators like crabs take many before they even reach the water. But against the odds, some survive. Those that do will travel the world, migrating across thousands of kilometers of ocean before returning to these same shores in 30 years' time to deliver the next generation of loggerhead turtles. The beauty of iSimangaliso is seen in the life cycles of those who live in its many different habitats. From its underwater havens and pristine beaches to its immense plains and lakes, iSimangaliso is a refuge that shelters life from its first steps until its final moments, nurturing some of the natural world's most iconic, striking, and adaptable characters. It is a land as beautiful as it is varied. A miracle unlike any other.